Hello and welcome to the Watch Kaki channel, where we bring you all the good and honest watch reviews. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to my channel. Come back every week. I've got new reviews uploaded every week just for you. A word of warning, today's video is going to be pretty long because I'm going to take some time to talk about these watches in front of me. I've got 3 watches from the same company. This is by a Japanese brand called TACS, T-A-C-S, TACS, and I have with me 3 watches from the model line AVL II. I'm very sure most of you will be very new to this brand, TACS, and AVL stands for Automatic Vintage Lens 2. This is the second model from their AVL series, hence the name AVL II. And as the name implies, the watch design is pretty bold, very daring. It actually takes inspiration from vintage cameras. So if you take a look at the watches here, I've got 3 in front of me. I've got the standard stainless steel, the gold plated, and the vintage looking one, and they're all modeled after vintage cameras. So a bit of background information on the brand TACS. They've been around for a while. I was told that they've been around for about 10 years, and they're a Japanese company, and all their watches, they are made in Japan. This being the flagship, the AVL II is the flagship model from the brand. I have the standard stainless steel version, the gold PVD, the full gold including the bracelet, and this one here on my right, it is a very special piece because it is the limited edition 10th anniversary piece, and this is done in a distressed finish, sort of like a vintage relic kind of finish. Of course, I'm going to spend some time to talk about each of them throughout the review. Let us just run through some very basic specs, and for the large part of the review, I'm going to refer to the standard one. In fact, I think this is the best looking. It looks the most like a real vintage camera, so I'm going to use this as the reference watch throughout the review. So this is a really big and hefty watch. It's got a case size of 47mm left to right. Case thickness is really something. It is about 16mm tall from the case back to the top of the dome crystal. The watch has sapphire crystals in front and as well as the back. It's got a lug width of 24mm, and lastly, it's got a lug length of 50.5mm. This is really a big watch. It's probably not suitable for people with smaller wrists. The TACS AVL II is powered by a Miyota movement automatic hacking hand winding. I think this caliber is called the 82S0, which is built upon the 82 series, 8200 series, but this one is, I would say, is improved. It's got hacking and hand winding. And reading from the Miyota spec sheet, the 82S0 also has some skeleton look to the movement. I believe that's why they've got a skeletonized part at the center of the watch. And if you take a look at the gold-plated version, right, you will see that the movement is also gold-plated. Now the 82S0 movement also has a gold-plated version. Thereby, I think this has been put to use in the gold one. And for the limited edition, I think it has identical movement to the basic stainless steel model. So at the time of this review, the TACS AVL II retails at $550 US, and that's for the standard stainless steel version. It comes on the Horween leather strap. You can actually order a bracelet separately, and I really need to show you how wonderful it's packed. It comes in a leather pouch. You can order a bracelet separately for it. This is a brand new bracelet that got sent in. So I think this bracelet costs about US $80 if you would order it separately, and it comes really nicely packed in a leather pouch. And of course, the plated versions, they would cost a little bit more. I think the gold one is called luxury or luxurious edition, and this one is the special limited edition. It's called antique. So I think these two, so there's a bit of upcharge compared to the standard one that comes in Horween leather, but I guess the upcharges are for the special plating you get as well as the bracelets. Now we'll talk about the dial design, and there's so much going on the dial. Obviously, it's made to look like the vintage camera lens, or in fact a real camera lens. I'm going to just bring it closer to the lens, to the camera here, so you can see it actually mimics the lens of a camera, of vintage camera. Here you've got sort of like a lens where you can hold on to the knurling here and adjust the focal length or the zoom. Alright, so a lot of the details here, the design details here, tries to mimic a camera lens, and actually you will see the lens aperture right in the center of the dial, the skeletonized watch movement, and then it is a very basic three-hander. It's got hour hand, minute hand, and central seconds hand. And there's something very special about the center of the sapphire crystal, is that they have installed, or they have put in a fisheye lens, sort of like a convex lens. I think it's a double-sided convex lens, and it really gives off the camera lens effect. You can see here that if I turn the watch dial, with the glass is just lots of distortion going on. You can't even see the time very clearly, and the prints along the dial really just mimics that of a camera lens. Of course, there are some very clever takes on the watch dimensions. Here you see the 47mm focal length or something like that. This is actually referring to the case diameter, and words like automatic movement and 21 joules talking about the movement, but some of the text can be found on actual camera lens. And very cleverly they have put on this 50-minute here. It is actually the 50-minute marker, because there are no markers, no hour markers on this watch, so they have very cleverly put 50-minute marker here. Now looking at the two plated versions, you see that the gold one has very similar prints to that of the standard stainless steel version, but the limited edition one, let's spend some time to look at this. The limited edition watch has got more prints going on. Of course, it says here limited edition, and if I were to turn it here, you will see that there is a 10th anniversary text going on the central seconds hand. And I believe this one also has loom. We'll try to catch a loom shot of this later on. So the dial here of the AVL II is very special. It's a multi-layered dial. It's not a flat dial, and right at the center of the dial, it is actually open heart design. Skeleton, you can see the movement at the hand stack. Now the hands of this watch, they're also very interesting because of how they play with the light due to the fisheye lens. Looks as though there's a lot of glitter effect going on, but it's only because of the fisheye lens. As mentioned earlier in the video review, the limited edition of the AVL II, it does have some loom going on its dial. Let's switch off the lights and take a look. Alright, I would say the loom is not too bad. Some of the markers on the dial, they are loom, along with the hour and minute hands. Not the brightest, but well, you do see that there's some loom going on the dial. So moving on to the case design and build of this watch, I would say again, there's so much to talk about the case design. It is unique. I've never seen anything like this. This is a unique design. It's not a catalog design. The entire watch has a stainless steel construction, and this one here, the stainless steel version, the basic one, is done in a brush finish, entirely brush finish, and it's also got really nice knurling at the bezel as well as the crown. Alright, the crown is a screw down crown, and it is worth mentioning that this watch has a water resistance of 100 meters. So for a watch like this that goes all out to create a statement, to make a statement, you will see that everything is trying to really look like a conversation piece, and the design here is just, I would say, is very daring, very striking. And you will even see like this part here, the brush surface here, as well as the case back. Maybe a brush finishes here, and I think these finish, they really look like vintage cameras. I've seen older cameras with this kind of black finish at the front panel, and even the bezel was not spared in the design and creation of this watch. Now you will think that it's a rotating or clicking bezel. You are wrong. This watch does not ratchet or click. It is a smooth turning bezel. There are no clicks or anything like that, but it feels very solid and very smooth. Again, this really feels like you are really holding on to a camera lens. So here, people try to adjust the focal length or the zoom, and the feeling is really much the same. Looking at the case back, the watch is held down by 4 screws, and it's also got a sapphire glass display back. Nothing much to see at the movement. We've got a bit of stripes going on, and I would say that's the very standard Miyota 8200 series rotor. And under the large crown, you actually see this part here where it is actually the strap loop you will find on the camera. So the brand TACS has really went all out in designing and producing this watch, so much so that they've even included the strap loop here. So the sides of the case also has got all these engravings. This one is another clever take on the watch specs. I think this refers to the beats per hour, 21,600. I think that's the beats per hour of the movement. And over here, okay, this is something interesting. I was told by the brand that you can actually customize your watch with the own number plate or nameplate, something like that. So this being a loan set, I think TACS has just included the serial number or case number. So if you were to order one for yourself, you can actually engrave your own name here. Alright, there's also some engraving here between the lugs. The TACS logo is seen here between the lugs. Really nice finish all over the watch. So both the plated ones, the gold plated one and the distressed finish ones, they're also very similar in terms of build, design. The engravings are the same. Again, must stress that these are really nicely engraved, right? They are not lasered, they are engraved. And I would say the casework here is pretty good. The reverse engraved crown has got same knurlings as the bezel, and I think the crown action is pretty good here. It is a screw down crown, and it pops just one notch, pops out one notch, because this is a time only watch. And hand winding and hacking, I would say the action is actually very good. So the standard AVL II comes with option of having a really nice leather strap, or you can order one on a bracelet. So the leather strap supplied here is a really good quality one. It's from Horween leathers, and I tell you, Horween leathers, they really make very good strap. Now this is a light tan version, and it's got ecru stitching. The stitchings are thick and they're really well made. The strap is really thick. It's about, I think it's about just over 5 millimeters at the lug end, and it thins down slightly to about 4.5 millimeters. It's got quick strap release. So I was actually surprised that the hardware found on the strap, it is also top notch. They've got a metal fixed keeper, and the finish is uniform. It's all brush finish, and a really nice sign buckle. The logo is here, sign buckle, and it's actually a screw-in buckle. So these watches, when they ship, they also come supplied with all these lens protector, lens cap. This one here comes in a tan version that is uniform with the watch strap. It's really nice, well made. I believe they're from the same Horween leather company. Very well made here, very interesting. So the other two watches in the studio today, they come on bracelets, and I must say the bracelets, they're quite well made. They come in matching finishes. Now the gold PVD one has a gold PVD bracelet, and the colors they do match very well. Same here with the gunmetal finish, or the relic finish, I beg your pardon. Again, the finishing is uniform, right? You know, many brands, when they create something for the watch case, PVD or vintage finish, sometimes the bracelet will not match, but that's not the case for the TACS AVL II. The bracelet is all solid links, solid end links, and it's got a butterfly kind of clasp here. Also like to show you that the bracelet has got a quick release system, so you can see that there are two quick pins on either side. So all I need to do is to press in on both the quick pins, and the bracelet will just slide off easily. It's just fantastic. Let's cut to a wrist shot of the AVL II. Now, of course, this is a huge watch, 47mm case size, and case thickness is about 16mm. This is huge, but this being a conversation piece, a statement kind of watch, I think the size is still understandable. It's not the most elegant looking, but hey, that's not the idea of this watch. So the strap is really good, very comfortable. Horween leather, I've always had good experience with this brand, and I think it's going to age very well. Now on the bracelet, the watch is surprisingly easier to wear. I think it's largely due to the fact that the bracelet is thinner than the leather strap. I think the bracelet is about 4mm thick, but the leather strap is more than 5mm. So it actually feels less cumbersome than the leather strap. I've managed to put in a good adjustment on the bracelet, and I would say it is actually more comfortable to wear than the leather strap. Here's a quick size comparison between the AVL II and the Tudor Black Bay 41. Now, one look, you know this watch is really a monster. The AVL II is really big, it's huge, even in terms of thickness. And the Black Bay is actually no slouch in terms of thickness, it's about 15mm, but this one here 16mm, and there is no dome or taper on the bezel, so it's really a monster. It really eats up the Tudor Black Bay for lunch, breakfast and dinner. Let's look at the watch in natural light. This watch is really tall and heavy. I really hope I don't drop it here. Now this watch is really striking in terms of looks. I'm sure it's going to be a conversation starter. So to sum up on the design and build of the AVL II, I would say this watch is very, very well built. You'll be surprised. I mean, looking at a watch like this, you would think that it is one of those mall watch or pushcart watch, but I assure you that it is not. The watch is very well built. The casework is superb. Really nice brushing, nice machining all around. Alright, the build is very good, and I can see 100% effort from the brand to really build a solid product. Now from the design, the build quality is actually very good. The PVD plating and all that, all very well made. And you get to see all these knurlings, all the small design features, the engraving, the belt loop, the fisheye lens, all these aspects. They really aim to build a watch that is very high quality and to stand out from the other mall watches or fashion watches. And again here, I really got to say the attention they pay to the details. You see here, the gold version has got a black finish bezel, and even the knurling is done very well here. So on top of all the efforts put in to the design and production of this model, you can also see that the brand is really putting in plenty of premium materials, from the strap, the hardware. You've got sapphire crystals front and back with AR coating, and even the watch box. In my unboxing, you will see this watch box here. It is a real wooden watch box. I said earlier in the unboxing that it is plywood, but I think I'm wrong. I have to clarify that I do feel that this is a solid wooden box with all the accessories very nicely placed in all the cutouts in the box. Alright, this is really well made. You can really see the effort in producing something that is meaningful, something that is really nice to look at. While I applaud TACS for being daring and imaginative enough to create a watch like this, I mean, this is like putting the entire camera lens on your wrist. I really applaud their effort and how daring they are to produce this model. But then again, this could easily backfire on them for many reasons. Now firstly, this will never be looked upon as a very serious timepiece, because hey, you can't really tell the time properly on this watch. There are no hour or minute markers, so I actually had a hard time trying to so-called synchronize the hands on all three watches. The dial is not the most legible. The use of a fisheye lens has also sort of made it even more difficult to tell time. So if I were to look at the dial from this angle, I'm not too sure if you can tell the time. And of course, having a watch that is 47mm across, I think it is way too big. 47mm across and 16mm thick. This kind of watches, I think they would do better if it was this is 10 years ago or 8 years ago. But today, I would say that the trend is moving towards 38 to 42, and having a watch like this a huge chunk of metal. It's more like for conversation starters, and it's not meant to be a serious timepiece. So I would think that these are the general trade-offs if you want to create a watch as impactful as the AVL2. You need to put on a vintage camera lens onto your wrist. So the trade-off is that it has to be quite big. You can't obviously fit everything into a 38mm case and still have the look and details. And obviously if you're using a generic movement, a pedestrian movement such as a Miyota 82S0, you can't really do a lot to the dial modifications. As such, you're not really seeing a very clear readout on the time, and I believe because of that, because of the theme, the camera lens look, you really need to sacrifice on factors such as legibility. So there you have it, the TACS AVL II automatic vintage lens 2. This watch is really well built, comes in different finishes, the standard, the gold plated, vintage, antique plated, and they're really well made. I'll show you that. It remains to be seen whether buyers or consumers, they're willing to go beyond the fact that these are not the most legible watches. Alright, it is clear that there are no heirloom pieces or serious timepieces, but if you're talking about a lifestyle accessory, alright, a lifestyle statement, I would say this watch is probably one that you should go for if you're daring enough. So with that, the 3 AVL2s that I have with me here in the studio, together with George, together with the Watch Kaki, we are going to say goodbye. Until next week, bye bye. The AVL2 in its anniversary edition, and I don't know what I'm saying. Whose television is so loud, man? It's terrible. Okay, so I'm trying to explore if I can wear the watch like this. Wow, it's got a lens cap, see, quite cool.